Alright, welcome back. This time around we're going to take a look at the cameras. We've placed in a handful of the ones that we have just to kind of give you a demonstration of them working together and how you can kind of mix and match the properties and the settings of them to create some fun elements within a level. So this level, as you can kind of see, is just simply a lot of camera boxes. We've left all of the visibility on so you can see the camera, but in your standard game you'd probably have the camera turned off. That way the user doesn't actually see that coming up. Let's go ahead and push play, and while it's loading, one of the things just to take note of is that when the cameras, as we go through it, remember that the properties we have set for it is just simply a property to change some of the feel of the camera. But when you put in any of these cameras, you're going to have a lot of different properties that you can really use to create your own type of feel to it. So the first one we have is a start position. So if you notice, that one's actually in the center of the screen. If you place this in the scene, it'll actually be, the camera will focus on it first. And in the player, for instance, with this one, we have once it's focused on it, we actually have the enable player one to be off. That way the player is actually free to move around. So the next one we have, though, is to actually zoom into the player. And then we can actually use our follow camera, which we've looked at before, more of a box style. So I'm going to jump on the pad. Now if you noticed, a couple of things just happened in that one is that when I jumped up, I actually went through a zoom that zoomed out, and then actually has a return value so that it'll zoom out, it'll delay for a little bit, it'll zoom back into the character at another distance, whichever one you want for it. So then we'll go ahead and go in here, we'll zoom in a little bit closer, we'll go to our look around. So now on the look around, what this is going to do is allow us to actually look around inside the scene. However, if you notice, it's only going to be while we're on this one, so when we exit the trigger of it, I won't be able to zoom around anymore, move around inside of that anymore. So we'll go ahead and move back down, we'll drop out of here and zoom out. And then we have a little peek camera. The peek camera, what this does is actually just kind of focus on a spot somewhere inside the scene to let you know what's going to happen. You can just use it multiple times, or you can use it one time. We're actually changing up the way our values work for the triggering so that you use it once and that's the only time you can use it. So now we have our offset camera we're going to drop down onto. So the offset moves me over to the side, but notice the camera's still going. When I go to the pass-through camera, we actually have a stop option on it as well. So it's going to stop the camera movement. Let me just kind of focus on this scene that's right in front of me. Now, I know I have the pass-through, so I can actually go through just like we've done before with it. But it's actually within a box confined, so it's not full screen. This is actually just the box part that we have with it. So now I'm going to drop out of that. I'm going to hit our offset so it gives me a little bit more room on the side. And then we'll get our auto movers. So this first auto mover is kind of a slow one. When we hit the next one, it'll go a little bit faster right there. But then that last one, I know that I have a little trigger box there. It's going to stop. It goes to just a stop motion on it for me. The focus one, so that focus up there, what it does is actually trigger spots, so those orange shapes, and the weapon, it's actually trying to focus in on those shapes. So if they go too far out or they start to go in, they'll actually zoom in and out to make sure that they stay within that range. And it's as long as you're within that trigger object space. So we'll go ahead and grab our weapon. It's going to zoom out a little bit there for us, and then we'll get back to our normal follow camera. Once we have our follow camera, when you know that you're, like we've looked at before, when you know you're going to have a lot of changes on your property, sometimes you want to go ahead and just save the property out. So I'm going to save out my current camera setup, and then we'll go ahead and go to our shake camera, let it shake the screen a little bit there. Alright, and then the next one that we have, this is actually a percentage base. It's going to say within this area, can you try to keep the color blocks and the player within a 50% range. So it's going to try its best just to keep everything within that volume. And then what we'll do, we'll actually leave. So once we get past that the turquoise color, it'll actually get us out of the trigger box. So if you notice, the camera's turned off. So what we want to do now is reload our follow camera. So we'll use our reload. So we're actually reloading it. Now we have we actually have a split screen camera. And the split screen, if you notice up at the top, if you look up to that purplish block, that's going to be where the second camera is going to be focused on. So if we go over here, you'll notice that we have a horizontal split. You can have a vertical split, dynamic split, and all those things, change bar colors and all that stuff. But the main thing, though, is just kind of notice that on the top panel, is going to be where my player is. The bottom panel is going to be where the block is. So again, that could be two players running around split screen. It could be an object that you're trying to find. I have a distance set on this one, so if you're within 2 tiles, it'll actually go to one screen. If you're within, if you're further than that, it'll actually go back to that split screen like we have right there. So I'm going to jump on my other tile, which is actually to turn off the split screen mode. And then we could just finish off by going over to our goal. All right, so that's basically going through a handful of the camera types that we have, and just putting them all together within a scene so that you can kind of see how they can play back and forth between each other. All right, thanks for watching.